Welcome to OreoOlive.com. As you know, Oreo and olives don't mix, but the abstract thought of putting those two words together has enlightened me to create a channel to discuss various topics. On today's episode, I wanted to talk to you about things not to do when traveling internationally. Now, some of you are probably thinking about the obvious things that you shouldn't do, but I'm going to share some insight with you. I want to share some insight with some things that's just like, hey, I'm going to share some insight with you on some things that I feel that you should not do internationally. And first and foremost, it's never, ever go to a foreign country and start ordering Americanized food. Don't do that. And what I mean by that, don't go to a Burger King in Germany. Don't go to a Starbucks in Beijing. Don't go to a McDonald's in the Philippines. I'm telling you this because you can go to those restaurants when you are at home in the convenience of the United States. When you go to other countries, I want you to get the full experience of what it is like to eat different foods from places that you would never have or see back home. Now, I can tell you from experience, for instance, I've visited a lot of places, and some of those that I've named, I've been to, and those restaurants serve different kinds of things. For instance, in the Philippines, they serve spaghetti, and they serve a lot of rice. And of course, those countries, they have like a lot of rice, their staple food. So, they have that there. Let's see, in Beijing, of course, they have like Starbucks and stuff like that, but they will have different kinds of things on the menu that you can try. But you can get all of that like at home. Why not try something completely different when you're in that country? So trying Americanized food internationally, no, don't do that. The second thing that you should not do is if you don't speak the native language where you can actually have a full-blown conversation, don't attempt to act like you understand and know how to speak the language natively. What I mean is, there's nothing wrong with saying hello, thank you, or how do you say this, and you're learning. But it's one thing where you get to a place and you feel like people have to speak English, because they do not have to speak English. Even though English is an international language, that doesn't mean that you go into a place and you demand and have that ego for people to speak English just because you don't know how to speak the foreign language. Because if the tables are turned, and what you see a lot of often here in the US is when people in the US speak a different language, some people get upset and they want them to speak English so they can understand what they're talking about. So let's reverse those roles and let's take your American glasses off. And when you go to their country, then you need to try to kind of get on board and understand too. So if you don't know the language, if you have somebody with you, just using a few words is okay, but don't come off as like you know exactly how to fully have a full conversation in their language, because that can lead you down like a very, very dark path. Another thing to do, don't do internationally. Don't try to plan out your whole trip day by day, hour by hour. When you get out there and learn like what the country's culture's like. Just go out and travel and have a good time. Go out there and have a good time. Go by the seat of your pants. If you see something when you get it, because a lot of things you can't see online because a lot of places are not digital. Like for instance, in the Philippines, out like on some of their beaches, their resorts are a little bit different than what we have here. The resorts there are not as like 5 stars what they are like here. Now, of course, if you go into like Boracay or some island like that where a lot of the celebrities go, that's a totally different thing. So definitely trying that on that perspective. So get out there, don't plan it, just go and just like figure it out. Know where your surroundings are, but like when you don't plan your day, you're running into a lot of hidden gems. So that's another key point there. The other thing, don't ever be disrespectful to anybody in their country at all. Whatever that their customs are, you have to abide by those customs. For instance, in Dubai, when you're taking the train from the airport to downtown Dubai, if this is still there, they have a separation of men and women. And what it is like women and children are like seated like in the back of the train. And then the men are standing in the front of the, kind of in the front portion of the train. And then the men are sitting, and sometimes women and children are sitting. Our custom, as far as me being a Southern, person, if I saw a woman and child standing, I'm gonna get up and give them my seat. But there, that's not the case. Like the men pretty much demand for women to like get up, stand up, or go to the back of the train. So there you could possibly have a problem. I definitely would recommend, to the women out there, if you're going, if you definitely have a male friend or your husband or boyfriend, whatever, have them go with you, just in case, so something happens, so that you're safe. Don't try to get into an argument about people with their customs, because that's the way that their country runs, and we're not going to actually try to change that. So you have to learn like their custom and stuff. If you go to China, try different foods. Don't go and start trying like fried rice and egg rolls. That is just only here in the United States. Don't go looking for that stuff like there. Like they have like in different restaurants, you may run across like a deep fried pigeon. That was actually like really good. So don't knock it until you try it. That was definitely in Beijing. Once again, be very respectful to the culture. Try their different foods. That's one of the biggest things, is people sometimes want to go to like McDonald's and in these different places, and you don't need to do that. You can have that stuff at home. The other thing is, don't be cheap. Don't ever be cheap. What I mean by cheap is you're penny pinching every dime when you're traveling internationally. The cost of things are going to be different depending on the country that you go to. So the purpose of you going on vacation is to splurge and have a good time. But when you come back home, that's when you can penny pinch. Don't try to penny pinch internationally, because that defeats the whole purpose of you taking the trip. Now, those are my tips for you whenever you travel internationally, and some things not to do when you are going. So like, listen, and subscribe, and hopefully I can bring more content to you soon.